We stay on these markets. Investors dealing with all kinds of uncertainty, and the Dow's at 452 right now. Some of it also White House uncertainty, which President Trump has responded to reports of a White House shakeup maybe being in the works. If you saw the interview with Chris Wallace over the weekend, Wall Street Journal Associate Editor John Bussey is with us here today on maybe how likely that is and who goes, who stays. And good to see you, John. It was interesting to see the back and forth between President Trump and Chris Wallace. He always leaves his options open, this president, about who might stay or who might go, but didn't exactly give anyone a big vote of confidence.
Right.
So what do you think happens?
Yeah. So, I mean, damning with faint praise, right, for John Kelly. And, Chris pressed him on this issue. I like him. We get along.
Right.
He does some really good things in one way, not so good in others. I mean, that suggests that, he's looking for a change.
When he was talking about his weaknesses, what do you think they are in the president's
Well,
mind?
I think, he's looking to 2020 now.
Yeah.
The structure of the White House now is going to be geared toward mobilization for the 2020 election. And the longtime criticism of John Kelly, he was brought in to basically make the place organized, right? It was this kind of chaos of people coming in to see the president whenever they wanted to. Yeah. And John Kelly says, no, this chief of staff is going to operate like a chief of staff. You're going to come through me. We're going to prioritize what the president has to see. And we're going to organize his day for him. And he apparently did that. Mm-hmm. But doesn't he have the political chops to be able to say to the president, this is the way you should go with maximizing political impact with Congress or with the public? And the argument has been no.
And he doesn't have and we've seen chiefs, White House chief of staffs in the past that do have those, like Podesta or some others that,
yes.
Have run campaigns, did afterwards, and are those type of figures. And he's not. I mean, he's a military guy, right?
Yeah. So. But, you don't rise in the military as high as he did without having some diplomatic skills. And it may not be the political instincts that the president wants, right? He may have plenty of political instincts, but maybe just not what Donald Trump feels that he needs right now. But you're seeing other kind of this kind of episodic changeouts, right? Where the deputy head of the NSA, the National Security Council, John Bolton's deputy, gets ousted
by the First Lady.
By the First Lady, which is incredibly unusual. Yeah. And the president kind of follows suit, saying, I don't really know her, but, it's time for another job someplace else in the administration. And we've seen the removal of a lot of very top people, from Secretary of State and head of the Trade Advisory Council,
right.
Gary Cohn. So, can he get his mission done before 2020? The things that are top on his priority list, with this kind of constant uncertainty. Jeff Sessions going, he's complaining about the head of the Homeland Security.
Nielsen,
maybe going as well, who's allied with John Kelly. Can you focus on your priorities with this amount of personnel change in the White House? I mean, we're going to see, but it's kind of hard.
Okay, so if his priorities, for our purposes, at least today and just about every day on FBN, it has something to do with trade, right? And if you're the president, it seems to me at least, one of the ways to set yourself up better for re-election in 2020 would be to cut some sort of a deal on trade. It would help the financial markets to get some of the uncertainty out of the economy, and maybe you'd be able to avoid a recession hitting at just the worst time for yourself politically. But I wonder if he's thinking that way.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the big ticket item, China. Not just trade, but China, particularly in changing the way that China does business, which has been, interestingly, this is a kind of a non-denominational, both parties kind of agreeing that China cannot continue to operate the way that it does in the global trading system. But are tariffs going to get you there? The structural change that the White House wants in China, everything from changing the way that state-owned enterprises operate and are subsidized to forcing technology transfer from U.S. companies to China. Is China really going to change, knowing that there's a possibility that there's maybe a new president?
But if the answer is no to that, then what would make them change? If tariffs aren't the answer?
Probably in the long haul, it's going to be something like sitting down and negotiating over hard fought treaties. Maybe it's the next generation of TPP. Maybe it's the next generation of a bilateral investment treaty.
But so many people have said you should have done your TPP because the whole idea behind that Trans-Pacific Partnership was to kind of get everybody in line, all the other countries, against China. The president didn't do that, and see any scenario where he says, you know what, I was wrong about that. Let's get back into this whole TPP deal. I don't see him saying that.
So the TPP was really orchestrated with China in mind.
Right.
It was not going to be part of it, but all the rules about state-owned enterprises, you can't subsidize these big behemoths that then go up against General Electric and are able to outbid them on projects in Pakistan. You can't do that anymore if you're Vietnam or one of the other members. And if China wanted to enter, it was going to have to abide by that treaty. So,
by the way, you could rename it. You could, like you did with USMCA, you could have some other name on it, and he could claim credit for it. I guess that's possible.
You could very well. But they also felt that there were tariff deals in there that were disadvantageous. Peter Navarro feels this, disadvantageous to the U.S. So maybe there's some other iteration. But it takes a long time. You can't do something like that within 2 years. China's kind of playing rope-a-dope, saying, we'll buy more oil, we'll buy more of this, we'll buy more of that, thinking that it can outlast President Trump. Maybe it will be able to outlast President Trump. We don't know. It's not going to be able to outlast this sentiment in the U.S. business community and the global business community that enough is enough.
That's hit sooner.
I think so. I think whatever administration comes in next, or if it's a second term for President Trump, it's going to be the same tone with China.
That is true. Everybody seems to be on board with that. It was one thing with the Europeans or the Canadians, but everybody does agree. It's just a matter of how. Boy, we're down 436 now. I wonder how closely the White House watches us. We were talking about earlier.
I think he watches really closely. I mean, this is a community, the business community, that the president's really attuned to.
Yeah. Good to see you, John. Thanks, as always, for coming in.